Hi, I'm Karen MacNeil, author of the Wine Bible and editor of the digital newsletter Wine Speed. And this look at the 2020 Napa Valley wines is being brought to you by Premier Napa Valley. Each year, Napa's winemakers make small bottlings of special wines. They're all signed, numbered, and labeled Premier, like this. This year's Premier celebration focuses on wines from Napa Valley's three most recent vintages, 2019, 2020, and 21. Today, let's look at the 2020 vintage, which will go down in history as a vintage no Napa winemaker will ever forget. As the growing season began, the COVID pandemic had just begun to sweep through the country. In the Napa Valley, working safely became the order of the day. Many public events were canceled and tasting rooms were closed. But bare-bones production teams continued to work in the cellars and vineyards, under strict safety practices, of course. Napa's winemakers had a pretty promising vintage on their hands, and they wanted to bring it to market, even if wine drinkers could only enjoy the wines at home. The weather started out cool and dry, a great sign, but then one of the biggest challenges in Napa's modern history struck. Two wildfires ignited, the first in August, the second in late September. While some in the valley had to evacuate, winemaking teams stayed in their wineries. Many white grapes and some reds were already in the cellar by the time those fires arrived, and those wines are fine. As for red grapes that were still hanging on the vines, the situation depends. Napa Valley, while small, is a very diverse wine region, so depending on the altitude, the topography of the vineyard, and the wind direction, some red grapes were very affected by smoke or fire. Others were completely unaffected. In the end, of course, the most valuable asset a Napa Valley winery has is its reputation. So while sadly, some Napa Valley wineries made no 2020 wines, others whose grapes were in or who were not in the path of fire or smoke made wine. For the valley as a whole, the 2020 harvest will be one of the smallest on record, a reminder that nature above all calls the shots. That means there won't be a lot of 2020 Napa Cabernet around in years to come. And for that reason, collectors are already snapping up the few beautiful wines that were made. That's it for us today. See you next time. I'm Karen MacNeil.